Hello everyone, VVizard here once again. Sorry it took a little longer than expected, but the wait should be worth it. This time, I'm bringing an even bigger collab, that being a collaboration with the brilliant creators roboshyguy and SB-2749. It was a huge honor and pleasure working with you two on this project, so without further ado, all rise. Yes, not just one, but two brand new characters, both hailing from the Ace Attorney series. Apollo Justice was a collaboration with roboshyguy, whereas Miles Edgeworth was a collaboration with SB. We've been working on both of these projects for a good while now. Back when I had first announced I was looking for new collaborations, roboshyguy contacted me about it, and after some brainstorming, we decided to tackle an Ace Attorney character, which ended up being Apollo. As for SB, a fellow enjoyer of the Edgeworth spin-off games, I knew this was a character we had to work on together. So, why did we pick these characters in particular? Ace Attorney is a huge series and a favorite of all of us here as well, but most of the time when Ace Attorney is present in crossovers or fan games, they usually focus on the original trilogy, starring Phoenix Wright and Maya Fey. So, with that in mind, we wanted to represent other titles from this incredible series, those being the Apollo Justice trilogy, as well as the Miles Edgeworth Investigations duology. Now, I pass the word to my collaborators, so they can better explain these characters.
Apollo Justice is a defense attorney who works under Wright Anything Agency, alongside Phoenix Wright, Trucy Wright, and Athena Sykes. He was introduced in the 2007 release of Apollo Justice Ace Attorney on the Nintendo DS, and as well as the HD version of the game released for mobile devices in 2016. While originally under a separate agency, Apollo was quickly taken in by Phoenix Wright after he successfully defended and received a not guilty verdict for the former attorney. Apollo became a recurring character in the Ace Attorney franchise, playing major roles in Ace Attorney Dual Destinies and Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. He's most notable for having the ability to see small unconscious twitches and tells witnesses may exhibit in order to tell whether they're hiding something or not. He's also known for having a serious attitude, compared to the more passive and easygoing Phoenix Wright in his respective titles. As of this video's release, Apollo will be receiving his own remastered trilogy in the coming year, just like Phoenix Wright had on several platforms, which all of us here are very excited to replay. In Rivals of Aether, we decided in order to differentiate the existing Phoenix Wrights from this character release, Apollo would show more of his attitude in his attack animations, being more serious than clumsy. VVizard and I decided that if Apollo were to theoretically get into a fight, that he'd more likely throw some punches instead of slipping on banana peels.
Miles Edgeworth is a prosecutor and one of the central characters of the Ace Attorney series. He was introduced in the very first game as its main prosecutor rival, setting a precedent for many others to come. Nicknamed the Eman Attorney, Edgeworth made his career known for his ruthless tactics as a prosecutor in order to keep a perfect win record, thanks in no part to the teachings of his mentor, Manfred von Karma. It was not until facing his old childhood friend Phoenix Wright in the courtroom, and coming to terms with his traumatic past that he began to rethink his tactics and transform into the righteous, yet comically serious avid truth seeker we know and love him as. His character is further explored in the spin-off Ace Attorney Investigations, where he is the starring protagonist, and its sequel that thus far has never been localized outside of Japan. In these games, he makes use of the almighty power of logic and deductive reasoning to unravel the great mysteries behind the cases. And also chess, I guess. As of the later Ace Attorney games, specifically the Apollo Justice trilogy, he is now the district chief prosecutor and sports some cool glasses. For his Rivals of Aether outing, we based much of Edgeworth's portrayal and moveset on his appearances in the Investigations games. While his attacks may possess a similar goofy feel to Wright's, his animations try to reflect his more refined personality, doing mundane, yet elegant things for attacks like a bow gesture or sipping a cup of tea.
Let's move on to Apollo's general moveset. He has decent range and speed on most of his attacks, making him an effective brawler, but he suffers from not having much disjoint. An important part of his moveset is his forward special, which has Apollo send out his bracelet as a projectile. It travels a decent distance, but this projectile isn't one you should rely on for killing. By holding up or down during this action, you can choose to angle the bracelet upwards or downwards. Once the bracelet is out in the field, it somewhat acts as a puppet for Apollo to move. By using forward special again, Apollo can trigger the bracelet to reactivate as a projectile and move forward or backward. You can angle the bracelet during its subsequent movements as well. Use this tool to zone, extend combos, or just catch your opponent off guard. For Apollo's up special, he is assisted by Trucy. In the Ace Attorney games, it's a reoccurring joke that Trucy has magical panties that can store anything she uses in her magic axe. She then makes the panties disappear, just like they did in Ace Attorney 4, Case 2, when they were stolen during the events of the case. While this whole concept may sound a little strange, we decided to take the creative liberty to include this joke as part of Apollo's moveset. Trucy effectively makes Apollo disappear with her magical panties, which is never not going to feel weird to say out loud. After the initial height boost, you can move left and right to position yourself better. By pressing shield during the garment's flight, Apollo reappears with a poof. This attack isn't great at dealing damage, but due to the small hurt box Apollo has during the portion of the attack where he can move around, he may be able to sneak back onto the stage without his opponent being able to catch him. And now, let's pass this showcase back to VVizard.
Now for Apollo's main special move, his neutral special is his iconic Perceive. When Apollo uses this move, a giant ring projection will appear around him and start to grow more and more, until it reaches a massive size. During any point, Apollo can then trigger the ring to try catching any opponents off guard who might be in contact within it, thus stunning them for a potential follow-up. Gotcha! However, there's a catch. The opponent can only be affected by the ring if they're performing a certain action. If they just stand there doing nothing, Apollo can't catch them on the act, meaning the attack will fail, so please keep this in mind when using this powerful tool. Also keep in mind that, the bigger the ring grows, the longer the cooldown for using it again will be. That's not all though. As previously shown with Apollo's forward special, the bracelet remains there after you launch it, meaning that when you use neutral special while the bracelet is out, the ring will instead circle and grow around the bracelet instead. Use this to your advantage to catch your opponents in the act. And finally, you may notice a small bar above Apollo's HUD. That bar fills up the more Apollo catches his opponents with his Perceive ability, which brings us to his final special move. It's his down special, Objection! Apollo simply points his finger forward and yells the series' iconic catchphrase, Objection! Serving as a very powerful attack. However, if you land this attack while Apollo's Perceive bar is filled up, he'll go into his unique install state, Pursuit Mode.
In Apollo's Pursuit mode, he becomes a real force to reckon with. The first thing you might notice is Apollo's own pursuit theme from Ace Attorney 4 begins to play, almost as if by entering his install, he got himself out of a corner by outwitting the prosecutor, just like in his games. Apollo's movement speed increases, which allows him to stay in his opponent's face more aggressively. The main changes he receives are to his specials, which I'll list off now. Neutral special grows much more quickly and is able to catch opponents that are in their idle. Forward special travels further, and any subsequent movement the bracelet has will home onto nearby opponents. Up special travels much higher, and when Apollo reappears, an explosion hitbox replaces the small poof that normally happens. And finally, down special has reduced startup, so that Apollo may use his cords of steel as much as he'd like.
Let's talk about Edgy's moveset. His attacks possess mostly average speed and range, though they often possess unorthodox animations and properties. But his true strength is with his zoner playstyle. His neutral special, Logic Chess, has him summon a chess piece that he can throw forward. Should he not do that, he will cycle through other pieces that increase in strength, but also change their properties. The pound is a slow, weak projectile that goes forward and does not last too long. The knight acts like a boomerang, as it will start to go the opposite way after a while. The bishop has good range, but can only exclusively be thrown diagonally up or downwards. The rook acts like a better pawn, having more range, speed and strength. The queen acts as a mix of rook and bishop, throwing out 3 pieces at once in different directions. Finally, the king is the strongest and longest lasting one, though it also very slow. But of course, Edgeworth never performs his search for the truth alone. His two trusty assistants, the detective Dick Gumshoe and the great thief Kay Faraday, also give him their aid. In his up special, Gumshoe gives Edgeworth a raise, throwing him upwards as a thanks for the last time his salary didn't get cut down. In Forward Strong, Kay pops up in front of Edgeworth to deliver some powerful kicks to their foes. She also lends her hologram-creating device, the Little Thief, to him in his Up Strong, where he can summon a holographic pillar to launch foes upward. But the two's usefulness doesn't stop there. Once summoned into the stage, Gumshoe and Kay stay put for a while, which allows Edgy to pass them a logic chess piece. Gumshoe will throw them upwards, while Kay will kick them into oblivion to the left or right, depending on where she's facing.
Was that a robot? Anyways. Now for Edgeworth's main gimmick, it's his forward special, Logic Deduction. Just like in his games, Edgeworth doesn't always need evidence to come up with logical conclusions, and that's where the logic pieces come into play. When using forward special, Edgeworth spawns a cursor in front of him. He can move this cursor around, dictating where he'll create a new logic piece, for a maximum of 3. You can create 2 types of logic pieces, a temporary one when you whiff the move, or a permanent one, created when you hit an opponent or even one of your own assistants with it. The logic piece also has custom icons, indicating what kind of logic piece it is. Logic pieces can be interacted with Edgeworth's logic chess projectiles. All you have to do is throw one of your projectiles at any logic piece, and that logic piece will begin to shake before blowing up with an extremely powerful explosion. But how else can you use logic pieces, you may ask? Well, that's where Edgeworth's down special comes into play, Eureka! Edgeworth snaps his fingers while shouting Eureka, which creates a stunning hitbox around Edgeworth. But that's not where the real power of this move resides. Whenever Edgeworth uses his down special, in his moment of epiphany, he triggers all logic pieces around the battlefield, creating a powerful remote stun hitbox for each of them, being great for combo extensions. But that's not all. Take a look at Edgeworth's HUD. Yes, the empty speech bubble now changed to a hold it icon, meaning that next time Edgeworth uses his down special, instead of shouting Eureka, he'll instead throw out a hold it attack in front of him, which stuns enemies for even longer. Now this move has 3 variations, depending on how many logic pieces you triggered and also if any of them have hit your opponent. If you trigger the Eureka special with 1 logic piece, it grants you a hold it attack. With 2 logic pieces, it grants you a take that attack that has a powerful launching hitbox. And finally, with 3 logic pieces, Edgeworth instead gains this mighty objection, a devastating attack that both launches and stuns anyone caught in the path of truth. Now before we move on to their stages, there are a few details I would like to highlight about Apollo and Edgeworth. Aside from Apollo's objection and gotcha speech bubbles, Apollo can also trigger his hold it and take that speech bubbles during his jab and forward tilt attacks respectively. Just be sure you've hit the first part of the move so you can trigger these powerful follow-ups. As shown before, besides appearing during Apollo's up special, Trucy also appears during Apollo's up strong, where she summons Mr. Hat. He comes out and delivers a powerful multi-hit attack, finishing with an uppercut. No matter how many times Apollo has seen this trick, he'll always be surprised when it happens. Like Phoenix Wright and Workshop, both Apollo and Edgeworth also summon a bench for their down strong, which they slam on with all their might, of course mimicking the same animation used in their games. And on that note, many of Apollo's and Edgeworth's moves and animations are recreations of some of their iconic animations from their games. From Edgeworth's jab being his finger waggle to Apollo's I'm fine gesture used in his neutral air. Can you identify them all? Both Apollo and Edgeworth also feature mute or voiced options. You can pick these on the character select screen, with Apollo specifically having a voiced option from his debut title, as well as his new voice from Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. But there's an extra option. Okay, isso!
Apollo Justice e Miles Edgeworth, ou melhor dizendo, Apollo Justo e Eduardo Espada. Ambos contam com uma opção da qual traduz suas vozes para o português brasileiro, além de traduzir seus respectivos ataques para o português também. As vozes utilizadas vêm do projeto Já que tem sabão, um projeto em grupo do qual foca não só em traduzir jogos da franquia Ace Attorney, mas sim totalmente localizá-los para o português brasileiro. Assim dando vida à franquia Fênix Veríssimo, Advogados de Primeira. E assim, queríamos fazer um tributo a esse brilhante time e seu incrível trabalho.
Wait, where were we? Oh yes, in the voiced options. During Apollo's pursuit state, the iconic pressing pursuit theme from Apollo Justice will even play. Now before we check their stage, I would like to bring some light to Apollo's trailer. The trailer is a continuation of my latest Nemesis trailer. After Nemesis kills Brad Vickers and injures Jill Valentine, he's put on trial for his crimes, and it's up to Phoenix Wright to somehow prove this monster's innocence. It's then where Apollo shows up to use his perceived powers to communicate and find the true nature of this monster. But then, when we think everything is done, Edgeworth comes out of nowhere to throw a wrench in Apollo's plans, segueing right into the gameplay trailer instead. These sections were created using the website objection.lol, and the Nemesis custom sprite was created by the great Altali. It was a very nice experience being able to create a crossover such as this one. And speaking of Altali, he also created unique artwork for both Apollo and Edgeworth. The results for both of these came out beautifully, really capturing the feel and aesthetic of their character and games. They even complement each other really well. Now I pass the stage to roboshyguy once again so we can check out Apollo's home stage.
Courtroom number 4, also known as the courtroom that was bombed during the events of Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, is the stage Apollo will be releasing with. Its current state matches his appearance after the detonation. The setting is empty and dark, and the dust from the explosion still hasn't settled. But did you know? This courtroom had a lot of use in the past before its eventual destruction, like during the third case of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, where he defended TV actor Will Powers, and during the second case of Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, where Apollo defended a reluctant Waki Kataki, the heir of the Kataki family of gangsters. The stage features 5 platforms, 3 on the bottom and 2 on the top. What you might not know is that this layout is a deep-cut reference to the first workshop item I ever uploaded, a poorly drawn courtroom stage. Looking back on it now, I'm still wondering how I got this far with sprite work. Upon entering the stage with 2 players, a small visual plays on the screen that's supposed to mimic the small animation the DS Ace Attorneys had when the cross-examination segment of the trial began, which showed the defense attorney and the prosecutor's face side by side. The stage features 5 tracks from Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, which are Questioning Moderato 2013, Pursuit Keep Pressing On, Simon Blackquill Distorted Swordsmanship, Investigation Core 2013, and Phantom. A fun tidbit is, if the music selected is Questioning Moderato and there are 2 players in the match, it will transition to Questioning Allegro once someone reaches 1 stock. Alright, well that's enough from me. Before I pass the mic back to SB, I just wanted to say thank you VVizard for being such a great collaborative partner for this character. I really wish I had more opportunities to work alongside you before your final frenzy, but I'm glad I made it in time. I hope everyone enjoys the character, and remember, when you're down 2 stocks and above 80%, the only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over. See ya!
The Grand Tower is a skyscraper featured in the Japan-exclusive Ace Attorney Investigations 2, as a very important location in the last 2 cases of the game. It's a 50-story building containing many corporate offices, including the headquarters of the Prosecutorial Investigation Committee, who antagonizes Edgeworth throughout the game's story. The stage is set specifically in the observation deck at the very top of the building, which contains a pretty little garden with Pegasus statues, and a cherry blossom tree. It's supposedly said to be a famous dating spot. It's a relatively wide arena with a single platform to the right, over the cotton candy stall. Occasionally, you can even see a hot air balloon with the face of a lion passing by the background. There are several music tracks, most of which come from Investigations 2, including bangers such as Objection 2011 and Pursuit, Wanting to Find the Truth, though there's also some representation for the first Investigations theme too. And that should be all. This was a fun project to work on, and to that I give my thanks to VVizard for approaching me to do this collab, and doing all the complicated coding. So fun fact, I had actually considered doing an Ace Attorney character for Rivals Workshop a long time ago, but that didn't go through. Still, I'm glad that I ended up doing something anyways, as not only do I greatly love the AA series, but Investigations 2 also happens to be my personal favorite, And also a big thanks for Gustavo for working on the Grand Tower stage, as it looks phenomenal. And that's about it, I guess. Hope you like the character, and see you on my next one. Whenever I end up doing that anyway. Wait, when was my last one?
And so with that, we conclude this presentation. I feel like I say this every time, but it feels so great to finally represent this series I love so much. Hey, this old VVizard's Final Frenzy was made with that in mind, right? Ace Attorney is a very important series to me, one that I love so much, from the original trilogy, to the spin-offs and side games featuring Edgeworth, to the latest games featuring our beloved Apollo Justice. It was interesting as well that, unlike different interpretations of Phoenix Wright and Workshop, being closely based on his appearance from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, we had the chance to bring something totally unique for Apollo. Even if he shares some concepts and moves with his mentor Phoenix, at the end of the day, Apollo ends up having his very own characteristics and moves, and if that doesn't represent Apollo to a T, I don't know what does. As for Edgeworth, he was one of the most fun characters to design moves for. After all, we took special note of how Edgeworth isn't the type of guy that would usually throw out a punch, let alone fight someone. So we had a lot of fun coming up with ways where Edgeworth would indirectly attack his opponents. From drinking tea, to answering his cell phone, to even cleaning the dirt from his clothes. And since he was also inspired by his spin-off titles, the investigation games, we were able to really set him apart from both Phoenix and Apollo. And of course, I would like to thank all of those involved in this project. Thanks to VVinya for once again dubbing me, to Altali for his incredible art contributions to the trailer as well as the characters' thumbnails, and I would also like to thank Ghostabo, who not only is a Workshop creator, but also a member of the Jacutim Sabao team. With his help, we were able to implement the unique Brazilian localization option for Apollo and Edgeworth, and of course, thanks for his work on the Grand Tower stage. And most important of all, to roboshyguy and SB. Working with both of you on these characters was such a delight. I say this every time, but seeing both Apollo and Edgeworth come to life so faithfully was truly a sight to behold. The level of expertise and polish from you both is certainly unmatched, and I'm glad I was able to join you two on working on such a great project as our Apollo Justice and Miles Edgeworth. Now thanks to all of you for watching. I hope you all had fun. As to when these projects will be released, well, keep watching. We still have a smaller update for you all. So, that's it for me, and I'll see you all next time.
Take that!